Hello everyone, my name is Dr. Parth Goyal and I'm a consultant psychiatrist in Ahmedabad. My core interests are in the field of adult psychiatry and neurostimulation. Today I would like to talk to you about the evaluation of psychiatric illnesses and their different treatment options. A lot of my colleagues have made a terrific effort at creating awareness about various psychiatric illnesses. There is a lot of material and resources available to understand whether you have some symptoms of different psychiatric illnesses or not. However, in my experience, there is very little information available on what to do next once you realize that there are some symptoms that you are experiencing which could be of psychiatric illnesses. A lot of patients come to me for consultation and ask me that how does this consultation work? The most frequently asked questions include, do we need to take medicines? How does this consultation work? What do we need to talk about? Will these medicines make me sleepy and will I get addicted to them? Can't I just get cured without taking medicines and by talking to somebody or by doing counseling? To understand the evaluation and treatment of psychiatric illnesses, first let us understand the difference between physical illnesses and psychiatric illnesses. Most people think that psychiatric illnesses are not illnesses at all. They are issues with willpower, they are issues with motivation. They are not actual illnesses, but they are a way for people to get out of their responsibilities. Let's understand this better with an example. When someone complains of a chest pain, the first course of action is to consult a nearby physician or a cardiologist. After going to a cardiologist, they first tend to get an ECG or an echo done. When the results of the ECG and the echo are normal, then the patient is reassured that their chest pain is not something to worry about. Similarly, if a patient were to ever experience any psychiatric symptoms such as sadness of mood, disinterest in surroundings, it is going to be first attributed to his lack of willpower or to his lack of motivation. They are not going to go to a doctor because somebody around them is going to say कि तुम नाटक कर रहे हो या तुम्हें ये काम करना नहीं है इसलिए तुम बहाने बना रहे हो. Unlike other branches of medicine, in psychiatry we do not have diagnostic tests which can prove our diagnosis. For example, in case of a chest pain, an ECG or an echo can conclusively prove to the patient and the relatives that there is no concern or there is no reason to be worried about. But in psychiatric illnesses, there is only the symptoms that are being said by the patients and experienced by the relatives around that can serve as a marker for diagnosis. To understand the evaluation of and treatment of psychiatric illnesses, let us compare them with physical illnesses. Most people believe that psychiatric illnesses are issues with motivation and issues with willpower. Some think that they are not illnesses at all. Some feel that patients are faking these symptoms to get out of the responsibilities that have been put on their head. Let's understand this better by contrasting it with a physical illness. For example, if a person were to have a chest pain, the first course of action would be to consult a nearby physician or a cardiologist. Merely a physician's opinion would not suffice. There would be an additional requirement of an ECG or an echocardiography to second the physician's opinion and give relief to the relatives and the patient. So this raises two very important questions. One, when somebody has a chest pain, the relatives do not go about and say, "Arey, you are doing some natak. Arey, this is nothing to worry about. Don't make a fuss out of it." The fear of death is what makes this situation urgent and hence an immediate consultation is sought. Second, when taken to the hospital, the presence of an objective finding, that is a normal ECG or a normal echocardiography, is what calms the relatives and the patients down. In psychiatry, unfortunately, we do not have any such objective markers which can prove to the patient and the relatives that they are suffering from any major psychiatric illnesses. The most common action or the most common recourse when somebody complains of a psychiatric illness is to change the environment by taking the patient out for a vacation or a outing of any sorts. So, in simple terms, chest pain is equal to a physician or a cardiologist visit, which is equal to an ECG or an echo report, which is equal to calming the relatives and the patient down. Sadness or any form of disinterest in surroundings is equal to lack of willpower, lack of motivation, natak, wanting to get out of responsibilities, which is equal to either not do anything or go for an outing for a change of environment. Evaluating psychiatric illnesses. So once you've decided to make an appointment with a psychiatrist, I would like to tell you how we as professionals evaluate your illness. Psychiatric illnesses are graded into three types: mild, moderate, and severe. Mild illnesses are when there are minimum symptoms and symptoms do not cause any impact on your routine activity. Moderate illnesses are when there is an increase in the symptom load and there is minimum but manageable impact on daily activities. Severe illnesses means all the symptoms in the book with a significant impact in daily activity to the point that you are unable to perform your routine activities and duties. Treatment options in psychiatry include medicines, psychotherapy, that is counseling, and novel methods of neurostimulation. The choice of treatment will depend upon the number of symptoms, the duration of the illness, the severity of symptoms, and past response to either medication or therapy or other forms of brain stimulation. Let's take an example of depression. Depression is used as an umbrella term by people to define and denote all psychiatric illnesses. Depression is the most commonly identified psychiatric illness, although it is not the only one. For example, heart attack is a type of cardiac illness. It is not the only one. Depression can be mild, moderate, or severe. Patients with mild depression may respond to only counseling or psychotherapy when given in a structured manner. They might or might not need medicines. But for patients with moderate to severe depression, medicines are a must. Structured psychotherapy is given in addition to medicines. Along with that, if the condition is severe or serious, additional neurostimulation techniques could be required for successful treatment of such illnesses. Patients often come to us and request only counseling or talk therapy. They say that we do not want to take medication because of all the wrong notions associated with psychiatric or psychotropic medications. Please note that counseling or psychotherapy is a treatment option only and only in mild illnesses where there is no significant impact in routine activities. For all other moderate and severe forms of depression, medications are a must. Let's understand this better by comparing it with a situation that is more common and familiar. If you have diabetes, the normal sugar levels are less than 140 mg per deciliter. If a patient has slightly elevated sugar levels, then these levels can be brought down by successful diet modification and a good exercise regimen. However, if the sugar levels are significantly higher, say about 200 or 250 mg per deciliter, the need for oral anti-diabetic medicines or even injectable insulin is a must. Diet modification and exercise is done along with the medication. It is not done exclusively in patients with higher sugar levels. Similarly, in patients with mild depression, it is possible that they could respond to only counseling or psychotherapy when given in a structured manner. In patients with moderate to severe depression, the need for psychotropics is absolutely essential and there is no escaping medicines. So, in simple terms, if sugar levels are more than 200 mg per deciliter, the treatment will include medicines plus diet control plus exercise. In patients with moderate and severe depression, the treatment will include medicines plus psychotherapy plus, if required, neurostimulation options. So I hope this video has been helpful in understanding the evaluation process and the treatment options in various psychiatric illnesses. In our next video, we will talk about a real case of a patient with major depressive disorder who benefited by adding a novel form of neurostimulation to his or her treatment regimen. Please stay tuned. Thank you.